Hi guys, this is extremewirehead for another Remains of the Day, and I thought I'd change it up a little bit and be a bit more precise, or should I say accurate with what I want to say. This week, I'm only going to focus on one thing because there was just one thing that really bothered me this week. And that's, CCGs, collectible card games, or card games in general. It's something of a passion of mine, I would say. Then again, anything that involves collecting things, managing collections, organizing stuff, that stuff always gets me. I'm a very meticulous person in that sense, and it's just something that I like to do. And it's gotten to the point where I've actually gone back and looked at some really old card games, some new ones that are coming out that have started getting popular again, and some that you probably have never heard of, which is really sad when you think about it. So the first one, maybe we should go back. Maybe we should go back to where I started all of this. I think I'm pretty sure I started with Pokemon card game, but then it just got too expensive. I just couldn't keep up, and it got weird. To me, it felt like it was getting very weird. Afterwards, I got really irritated from all of the coin flipping, all of the nonsense that happens just because you got lucky. That was terrible. So I decided, why not try something else? And then I ended up with stuff like Mage Knight, which is figurines instead of cards, and then you collect those and you fight them with other people, much like Warhammer, except they're pre-made, pre-colored, and everything. Simplified, if you would say. And the next would be Magic the Gathering, which is, if you haven't heard of it, then you probably don't even care about the rest of the list. I never got into Yu-Gi-Oh! Mostly because it also felt a little too random. Statistics play a big role when it comes to a card game, and I felt like since there was no cost to anything, it just felt like as long as it got in your hand, that's it. The heart of the cards and all of that. That sounds incredibly boring, incredibly simple. So maybe I'm just an elitist, but I really don't like the idea of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I could cite all sorts of reasons, but I won't go into that now. The next thing was probably Neopets, the card game, and nobody ever touched that thing, and it died off almost instantaneously, and that was really sad. Really quite sad when you get right down to it. So the next thing I got into, what was the next thing? I think there was a big slump where I just decided, screw it. I've spent way too much money and time on these things, so I'll look back and I haven't touched it recently. Then, after a couple of years, a friend of mine got me into buying some Schwartz cards, and they are basically, if you've been into anything related to anime or Japanese animation, that's basically fan outpouring. You have all of these amazing titles from animation, all these cartoons, and then they all get to fight each other, which is kind of awesome. And it also has this feeling of when you get hurt more, you hit harder, which is a really good way to balance the system and make it so that close fights are how the game actually runs, which is cool. Then, the same company who made Schwartz, I recently found out that they've also made another title called Cardfight Vanguard. This is a far simpler, far easier to understand version of Schwartz. There's less complexity and complexity in other places. But what it came down to was Cardfight was just something that a little kid could pick up and learn and feel like a Dragon Ball master, because that's when you play the game, that's how it feels like. It feels like you're powering up and fighting each other, and the first person to not block 6 times probably wins, and that's really cool. It makes you feel a lot like you're a Dragon Ball character. To me, when I play that game, the first few times, it really felt like you were a Dragon Ball character, and then you were just like, and then I'm stronger than and it's cute. If I was younger, I'd probably get into it, but it doesn't have the, I don't know what the word is. It doesn't have the things that I liked about some card games. And one of the things that I really liked, something that I found recently, was that I really, really like it when strategies unfold because of bluffing and the ability to play mind games with your opponent, which is not always the case in many card games. And that's when I recently found Android Netrunner, which is about a year old now, maybe a bit more than a year. Now that game's crazy. I've been trying to get my head wrapped around the idea of playing it, and I've failed. I've played against my brother and I've failed multiple times, but it's a fun game, and it showcases exactly what's so great about card games, because to me, how you play the deck is good, but it's also quite important that you are able to bluff. Basically, the ability to bluff makes up 50% of the game. The deck is very important. I will give you that. The deck is very important. But the ability to bluff and to lie and to swing around and do all these things and manage yourself under time constraints and all of these things, it's a very fulfilling experience. It's a very full experience. It lets you walk into the shoes of somebody in that role, in that universe, and run and do your job. And that's amazing. It makes you feel the corporation. In this game, you've got two sides. You've got corporation and the runner. Two completely different sides. It's asymmetrical. And the runner really feels like you're in a hurry. You're always rushing to do things. The corporation is always trying to maneuver itself as a big lunking mass, trying to get one ahead from the runner, which is, it's like a David and Goliath scenario, and that I really like the idea. It lends itself to lots of very interesting ideas, and I've recently found out the guy who created it was in charge of inventing Magic the Gathering. So, Garfield, which is great. I wish that he had more time to play with it and didn't just stick with Magic, because I have my own issues with Magic. But in any case, those are the card games that interested me in the past. It's been a long road. Currently, I'm on Netrunner, Cardfight, and Schwartz, but that could change at any time. It really depends. I'm still trying to wrap my head around thinking in terms of Netrunner, because so much complexity in under 40 cards is crazy. So, yeah, that's me for Remains of the Day. That's been running throughout my head for the past week. And if you have suggestions about card games, what did you like about Yu-Gi-Oh? Because I really hate that game. And if you want to get in touch with me about some of the games that I play, just ask. Simple as that. In any case, this has been Extreme Wirehead, and I propose a toast to all things great and small. Well, there's too far away to reach, but I'll see you next week for another round. Peace.